mysterious disappearances, strange phenomena, and unexplained deaths. While many mountain passes have claimed lives through avalanches, exposure, or simple missteps, the events at Dead Man's Pass defy conventional explanation. Nestled between the towering peaks of the Northern Cascade Range, Dead Man's Pass serves as the only direct route between two isolated valley communities. For centuries, travelers have braved its narrow paths, hoping to arrive safely on the other side. Many succeeded, many others vanished without a trace. The earliest written accounts of the pass come from European settlers in the late 1700s, but Native American oral traditions speak of the area's dangers long before colonizers arrived. The Salish tribes called it the place where shadows walk, and strictly avoided it during winter months or after sunset. Ancient pictographs in nearby caves depict humanoid figures with elongated limbs standing among mountain peaks watching travelers below. These tribes shared a common belief that something ancient lived within the mountain itself. Not a physical creature, but an entity that existed between our world and another. They believed this entity hungered for human life force, creating illusions to lure travelers from safe paths and into deadly situations. While we might dismiss such stories as superstition, the historical record reveals a disturbing pattern of inexplicable events. In 1822, a fur trading expedition of 12 men attempted to cross the pass during early winter. Only 3 emerged on the other side. According to the survivors' accounts, the others simply disappeared one by one during a sudden snowstorm. The peculiar detail that haunted investigators was that no footprints led away from the path. The missing men had vanished while walking in plain sight of their companions. One survivor, James Harrington, later wrote in his journal, "The storm came upon us without warning. The snow fell so thick we could scarcely see 3 feet ahead. McCormick was directly in front of me. I called to him as the wind grew fiercer and he turned, not 2 yards away. I blinked against the driving snow, and in that instant he was gone. No sound, no cry. The space where he stood just empty, as if he had never been there at all." Throughout the 19th century, similar disappearances continued. Railroad surveyors, miners, and settlers all reported companions vanishing in the pass. During the gold rush of 1861, an entire group of 17 prospectors disappeared. Their equipment and supplies were found scattered across the trail, including full packs containing valuables and gold. Whatever took these men had no interest in their earthly possessions. By the early 1900s, the pass had earned its grim name, and local authorities actively discouraged its use during winter months. But the true notoriety of Dead Man's Pass came from what happened to the Richardson Expedition in 1924. Professor William Richardson led a team of 7 researchers from Miskatonic University to investigate the unusual magnetic anomalies reported in the pass. As a respected geologist, Richardson dismissed the local legends, attributing the pass's reputation to the harsh environmental conditions and the psychological effects of high-altitude exposure. The team entered the pass on June 12, 1924, well equipped with the latest scientific instruments and enough supplies for 2 weeks. Their plan was to conduct a comprehensive survey of the area, documenting the geological formations and testing the reported magnetic disturbances. The expedition's daily radio communications were initially routine. Richardson reported unusual compass fluctuations and described a constant, low-frequency humming sound that seemed to permeate certain areas of the pass. On the 4th day, the messages became more disturbing. The humming grows stronger near the western ridge. Equipment malfunctioning intermittently. Chronometers running at different speeds. Collins reported seeing movement in the rock face, likely a trick of light or altitude sickness, all members experiencing intense headaches and disorientation. The next day's transmission was fragmented and distorted. Found an opening in the north face, not on any map, perfectly symmetrical arch, 10 feet high, rock composition unlike surrounding formations. Howard insists the arch wasn't there yesterday when we passed this exact location. We'll investigate. The transmission cut off abruptly. When it resumed 2 hours later, Richardson's voice had changed. His typically measured scientific tone was replaced by rapid, breathless speech. "They're inside the mountain watching us. They've always been watching. The door is open now. They come from inside the stone." This was the last coherent transmission from the Richardson Expedition. A search party was organized a week later when the team failed to return. What they found only deepened the mystery. 5 of the expedition's tents remained at their campsite in perfect order. Food had been prepared but not eaten. Scientific instruments were arranged for use. A journal lay open on Richardson's cot, the pencil beside it as if recently put down. The final entry simply read, "They are not shadows. They have weight. They have purpose." Of the 7 expedition members, only 3 bodies were recovered. The official report stated they died of exposure, but the search party's personal accounts tell a different story. The bodies were found in seated positions, backs against rock faces, with expressions of absolute terror frozen on their faces. Their eyes were described as completely white.
The rivalry between British General Bernard Montgomery and American Supreme Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower defined much of the Allied High Command in World War II. Montgomery, confident and often abrasive, believed his battlefield strategies deserved priority. Eisenhower, tasked with balancing egos and
fluid, and their faces. Keane always paused at this point in his retelling, visibly shaken. Their faces were just smooth stone with depressions where eyes should be. But I could feel them looking at me. They stood at the cave entrance all night, watching. They never tried to enter, never tried to take me like they took the others. They just observed. When dawn came, they retreated back into the rock faces, moving through solid stone like it was air. Keane made his escape that morning, running until he reached the edge of the pass. The authorities mounted a search for the other students, but found no trace, no equipment, no bodies, no signs of struggle. The official report concluded that the group had become separated during a sudden mountain storm, with 4 members presumably falling to their deaths in the rugged terrain. Keane maintained his account despite the professional and personal cost. After several psychiatric evaluations, he was diagnosed with PTSD and delusional disorder. He withdrew from college and spent several years in and out of mental health facilities. In the late 1980s, he emerged as a changed man, refusing to discuss the events at Dead Man's Pass and eventually building a quiet life as a bookstore owner in a small coastal town. But in 2002, nearly 25 years after the incident, Keane broke his silence. What prompted this change was the discovery of unusual photographs taken by a wildlife research team in the mountains near Dead Man's Pass. The research team had set up automated cameras to track mountain goat populations. When retrieving their equipment, they discovered several photos showing strange, elongated figures moving among the rocks at night. The images were blurry and could easily be dismissed as camera malfunctions or pareidolia, the tendency to perceive significant patterns within random data. But for Keane, these images validated what he had experienced decades earlier. In a rare interview, Keane examined the photos and stated, "These are them. This is what took my friends. They're still there, still hunting. The pass isn't haunted, it's inhabited." Keane's renewed testimony, combined with the mysterious photographs, sparked fresh interest in Dead Man's Pass. A documentary crew approached him in 2003, proposing an expedition back to the site. Initially reluctant, Keane eventually agreed to serve as a consultant, though he refused to enter the pass himself. The documentary project, titled The Forgotten Pass, assembled a team of 8. 2 paranormal investigators, a geologist, a cultural anthropologist, 2 camera operators, a sound technician, and a guide familiar with the terrain. They entered Dead Man's Pass in June 2003, equipped with satellite phones, GPS trackers, and various scientific instruments. For the first 2 days, the expedition proceeded without incident. They documented the unusual rock formations, took soil and mineral samples, and recorded ambient sounds. The geologist noted peculiar patterns in the rock strata that suggested the pass had formed differently than the surrounding mountains, as if it had been carved rather than eroded. On the 3rd night, their satellite communication became intermittent. Their final transmission described discovering a circular arrangement of stone columns matching Keene's description from 1978. The team's geologist reported that despite their appearance, the columns showed no signs of human tooling or natural erosion processes. The call ended with the team announcing they would investigate a cave entrance they had discovered near the columns. When communication couldn't be re-established the following day, a search and rescue operation was mobilized. The rescue team found the expedition's base camp intact, with equipment still set up and personal belongings undisturbed. GPS tracking led them to the stone circle described in the final communication, but no trace of the 8-person team was ever found. The most puzzling evidence came from the expedition's own cameras, which were recovered at the site. Most of the footage was routine documentary material, interviews, landscape shots, team discussions. But the final hour of recording showed something extraordinary. The footage begins with the team approaching the stone circle at dusk. Their instruments begin malfunctioning, with battery levels dropping rapidly and compass needles spinning. As darkness falls, the cameras capture a low humming sound growing increasingly louder. One camera, operated by the team's paranormal investigator, records the stone columns appearing to shift position when not directly observed. Turn away from a column, then back, and it has moved slightly. The effect is subtle enough that the team members initially attribute it to tricks of light or fatigue. Around midnight, the footage shows the team huddled near their equipment, discussing the strange phenomena they've witnessed. The sound technician is the first to notice something unusual in the rock face behind them, a darker patch that seems to be spreading. The camera swings to reveal what appears to be an opening forming in the previously solid stone, a perfect arch materializing out of the mountainside. The team approaches cautiously, their flashlights revealing a tunnel extending deep into the mountain. The geologist is visibly confused, stating that no such cave formation should exist in this type of rock structure. The anthropologist notes the similarity to the arch described in the lost Richardson Expedition's final transmission. After a brief debate, the team decides to investigate the tunnel. The footage follows them as they enter, the camera light illuminating smooth walls, unlike the natural rock of the pass. The tunnel extends straight for several hundred feet before opening into a large chamber. And it's here that the footage becomes truly disturbing. The chamber walls appear to be in constant, subtle motion, like the surface of water disturbed by a gentle breeze. The team's lights catch glimpses of shapes moving within the stone itself, elongated figures circling just beneath the surface. The camera becomes erratic as panic sets in. There are shouts of "Don't touch the wall" and "Get back to the entrance." The image spins, showing team members running toward the tunnel. Then comes the most chilling moment. A team member reaches the tunnel entrance only to find solid rock where the opening had been. The final minutes of footage show the chamber growing darker as the team's lights begin to fail. The wall's movement becomes more pronounced, with distinct forms pushing outward. The camera catches glimpses of stone-like hands emerging from the walls. The last coherent image is of the cultural anthropologist being pulled into the rock face, her body sinking into the stone as if it were liquid. The camera drops, recording only darkness as the team's screams fade to silence. The recording continues for another 20 minutes, capturing only blackness and a gradually intensifying humming sound before the battery finally dies. This footage, though partially released to the public in heavily edited form, was largely suppressed by authorities who deemed it potentially fabricated or manipulated. The official explanation for the documentary team's disappearance cited a flash flood or sudden rockslide. But the incident added to the growing mythology of Dead Man's Pass. Despite, or perhaps because of, the dangers, the site began attracting more visitors. Amateur paranormal investigators, thrill-seekers and skeptics determined to debunk the legends all made their way to the pass, despite its official closure. Between 2004 and 2018, 7 more people disappeared in the area. In each case, no bodies were recovered, and the missing individuals' possessions were found undisturbed, as if they had simply vanished while standing in place. In 2019, the government established a permanent roadblock at both ends of the pass, citing environmental concerns and public safety. Motion sensors and cameras were installed throughout the area, ostensibly to monitor wildlife and prevent unauthorized access. But rumors persist about the true purpose of this surveillance. Former employees of the monitoring station have reported that the cameras aren't primarily watching for human trespassers. They're watching the rocks themselves. One such employee, speaking on condition of anonymity, stated, "We had specific protocols if we observed any anomalous lithic behavior. That's the exact phrase used in our manual. We were trained to identify and report any stone formations that change position or configuration, especially circular arrangements of standing rocks." When asked what would happen after such observations were reported, the employee said, "Teams would be deployed within hours, not regular park rangers or police, specialists in unmarked vehicles. They carried equipment I didn't recognize, not standard geological or surveying tools. They treated it like a containment operation." This suggests the government is well aware of what happens in Dead Man's Pass, raising questions about how long they've known and what else they might be hiding. In 2020, a hiker captured what remains the clearest image of the phenomenon. From a ridge overlooking the pass, their telephoto lens photographed what appears to be a human figure halfway embedded in a rock face, arms outstretched as if swimming through stone. Geological experts consulted about the image were unable to explain it as a natural formation. Indigenous elders from the region's Salish tribes, when shown the photograph, were unsurprised. One elder stated, "The old ones in the mountain are becoming less patient. The door between their world and ours thins. They've always taken travelers, but they used to be more subtle. Now they grow bold, hungry." When asked what the old ones might want, the elder replied, "They feed on potential or the moments of a human life that would have been. They consume what you would have done, who you would have loved, the children you would have had. They take your future and leave nothing behind, not even a body to mourn." Despite the roadblocks and warnings, Dead Man's Pass continues to draw the curious and the skeptical. Local search and rescue teams refuse to enter certain areas of the pass, having lost too many of their own over the years. What truly dwells in Dead Man's Pass remains unknown. Is it home to interdimensional entities that can move through solid matter? Is it a thin point between realities where the laws of physics break down? Or is there a more mundane explanation? Hallucinogenic gases, mass hysteria, or elaborate hoaxes? Those who study the patterns of disappearances note disturbing similarities across centuries. Many vanishings occur during specific lunar phases or astronomical alignments. The stone columns always appear in the same configurations, circles of varying sizes but always containing prime numbers of stones. And throughout all accounts, the constant humming persists, felt rather than heard, affecting electronic equipment and human perception alike. Many who visit the pass report the sensation of being watched, even in the most desolate sections. Hikers describe the feeling that the mountains themselves are aware of their presence. Compasses spin without reason. GPS systems show impossible locations, watches run at different speeds, and the shadows cast by the mountains don't always match the position of the sun. But perhaps most unsettling are the reports from those who camp near the pass, not within it, but in the supposedly safe areas beyond its boundaries. They describe waking in the night to see figures standing at the edges of their camps. Tall, motionless silhouettes watching from a distance. By morning, these observers are gone, but in their place stand newly formed columns of stone. The borders of
The rivalry between British General Bernard Montgomery and American Supreme Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower defined much of the Allied High Command in World War II. Montgomery, confident and often abrasive, believed his battlefield strategies deserved priority. Eisenhower, tasked with balancing egos and resources, favored coalition unity over personal ambition. Their clashes over operations from Normandy to Market Garden revealed deep